franchise, the win, and a culture of winning down in H-Town.
Yeah, it feels great. I mean, obviously, we love winning. Winning is always better than losing. And the one thing Mr. McNair wanted was a winner. All he wanted was a winner. He wanted to win every week. He wanted a team that could win and bring a championship to the city. And so to be able to win 8 straight and to be able to win tonight for him was good. And we're going to try and keep doing that for him. We're used to adversity. We're used to having to find a way. And we believe in each other, and we believe that we're going to find a way. And offense did a great job of going out there and putting some points up, so that helped take some of the pressure off as well. And you never know which side of the ball or who's going to have the biggest effect, and that's the best part about this team, is that there's so many guys that can step up at any given time.
Peter, you tell JJ Watt to his face he's a cookie cake.
I didn't say he's a cookie cake. I said cookie cakes look delicious, but not everyone buys them.
The Texans now 8 straight wins. They're 8-3, a big lead in the AFC South. They lead by 2 games. In fact, you've got the Steelers there, the loss to the Broncos, a big one. They want to lock up a bye week. They do not want to go up and play in Foxborough if the future holds that. So that was a huge, huge swing for them. And then you've got, of course, Baltimore sitting down there at 6-5. I like that. They win the tiebreaker over Indy based on the AFC record. Love all of that. There's a lot to get into. But next, a team that's not on this board, guys. Not on it at all. The Jags. They announced they were parting ways with offensive coordinator Nathaniel Hackett. Head coach Doug Marrone released a statement that said in part, quote, "These are always tough decisions, but as the head coach, I have to do what I think is best for this football team," end quote. Then the Jags announced quarterback Cody Kessler will start in place of Blake Bortles this week as they take on the red-hot Colts. Let's take a listen to head coach Doug Marrone on this decision, the one to bench Blake Bortles.
Regarding the quarterback position, we're going to start Cody Kessler. This week against the Colts, I had a chance to talk to both Blake and Cody early today, and I told both those guys the same thing. I'm making this change to give us an opportunity, to win a football game. And Cody knows the offense. He's been in where he's not really prepared that week, so he'll have a full week of preparation. And I talked to him of what's expected of him. And then lastly, before I take any questions, I just want to make sure that I'm clear, with everyone. Anytime you're losing, it's not just on one person. It's on everyone. And obviously, when I say that, I understand and take responsibility for that. It starts with me as the head coach. I've said that before, and I'll say it again. It always starts with me first.
That resonates with me, Coach Marrone, saying it doesn't fall on just one person. One person got the blame so far, but I feel like both sides of the ball, the front office, all are carrying the disappointment that they have achieved this season, right? They were such a great team going to the conference championship last week. So where would we place the blame?
Yeah, it's a lost season in Jacksonville. And if you think about before the season, this was a team that we were talking about as Super Bowl contenders, and now they're not even in the hunt graphic in the playoff picture. I look at discipline. They brought in Tom Coughlin last year as this executive vice president to oversee things. Coughlin's whole rap in New York was you're not, 5 minutes early is on time. And Doug Marrone is not known as a warm and cuddly coach. He's a tough guy. And yet we were in London. These guys go out all night. They put up a $60,000 bar tab. Some of those guys played the next day. Dante Fowler in that game played a role. Dante Fowler wasn't even at practice on Saturday in that London trip. So you're not disciplining these guys. You're not telling them that's wrong. What does that lead to? Well, it leads to a breeding of losses. And then it leads to last week where Leonard Fournette is a 4th overall pick and a first-round talent and a guy who is carrying you on his back and gets in a fight and punches someone with a helmet on, and now he's out suspended for another week, not from the team, but from the league. That Fournette thing last week was so idiotic, such a shame, and really just looked like a team that has no rules, no boundaries, and absolutely no fear of what's going to happen if I do something wrong. So I don't even mind the fact that they ran their mouth all offseason. That's football. Lack of discipline during the season. You're out all night before a game. You miss a practice before a game, and then you punch a player with your bare fist in the helmet on national television in a game that you should win. Get out of here with that. Lack of discipline. I don't know what happened here. I'm not blaming Blake Bortles for this lost season. I'm saying overall, this thing has just been a sinking ship.
Were they disciplined last year and they lost?
Yeah.
Do you think they were just
They were on board.
So were they like feeling themselves? It almost feels like they were celebrating a Super Bowl or something. They have a Super Bowl hangover but never got the hardware.
That's exactly right.
Hangover.
Yeah, they
Title
talked
game
themselves into a position of power, and they didn't have power. And that lack of discipline, that leads to on-the-field lack of consistency. And for me, it is that. And I would say Blake Bortles is part of the blame, but it's also the inconsistent play of the skill players. You remember a few years ago, it was Robinson and Hearns and you had Marquise Lee. And then last year, they decided to move away from Hearns and Robinson, and Lee was supposed to be there, and he gets hurt. Then you have Westbrook come in, and he doesn't make an impact right away. Fournette was a monster last year. He gets injured. C.J. Yeldon, he's thrust into the starting lineup. It just seems like there's so many moving pieces for a team that was supposed to be set. The table was supposed to be set. They were supposed to come in this season, and all they were supposed to do was eat. Instead, they were the ones being eaten every single game. They flipped this thing upside down. Last year, points per game, 22. They allowed 14. This year, points per game, 15. They're allowing 27. So what kind of team has that type of turnaround, that type of flip-flop after talking their way into everybody's hearts thinking, okay, all right, this Jags team might be for real? No, they weren't. That just shows you the level of consistency in this league and how hard it is to maintain things. I know I get some stuff going back and forth between me and the Patriots, but one thing I do respect is the fact that they build a dynasty, and they shut up and play. They don't talk and then back it up. I look at teams like that, and that is the golden standard of what you're supposed to do in this league. Go out there and get wins, and then talk a little bit. You don't talk a lot because you got a little bit of wins.
Give me the bat. Let me hit this pinata. Peter almost knocked down the tree. Sometimes the best answers for me are the simplest. It's just Bortles. If Bortles would have played better, would have been a better player, a lot of these problems go away, and discipline and legacy. Just play better. And in a way, I'm going to miss the theater of Bortles because on any Sunday, you really had no idea how he was going to show up. You knew from the first series. Sometimes the first play, oh, we got this Blake today. Oh, we got this Blake today. This is nice. And, you know, sometimes there's apologists for him. He doesn't have help. And as number 3 overall pick, you help yourself. We've seen Cam, Russ, Luck, guys who do not have a bevy of Pro Bowlers around them, make plays, win games, make playoff pushes. And you start to look back to Jacksonville when they chose Bortles. What might have been different if that year, if they took Carr, if they took Bridgewater, who knows if they took Manziel, what the hell would have happened? It still comes back to me, though, the pivotal point for this whole thing was when they decided last year, drunk off the playoff run, to give Blake Bortles an extension. Anybody watching that game against Buffalo said he doesn't have it. They carried him through that game. It felt to me like the worst decision you can ever make in life, and I've had friends make this decision. When your marriage is on the rocks, you say, what should we do? Let's have a baby. That'll fix all of our problems. A 24/7 need to tear us apart. They decided to have a baby when the marriage was on the rocks. And listen, you know, Alex Smith was doing fine for the Chiefs. It was okay. They were getting to the playoffs and losing. But the Chiefs said, no, no, no. Let's make a big play. Let's do better. Let's go get this crazy Mahomes kid and see what we can do with it. The Jags didn't do that. Yeah. They said, we're going to play D, and we're going to run the ball, and we're going to rally around Blake. It didn't work. It blew up. If Blake Bortles was in the 70s, maybe that might have worked. Not in 2018.
I can't even add to that. You literally took the words out of my mouth, minus the baby analogy. But you can blame Bortles, but it's really, to me, that decision, that sort of settling that they did as a team, as a front office, saying, we are so good on defense, we're going to rely on turnovers, which are so difficult to rely on from one year to the next. We're not going to add, other than Norwell, which was a nice addition, we're not going to really add to the offense. We're going to give him pretty much what he had, and it's going to carry us all the way. So to me, it's the defense is not creating turnovers like they are. They're still a top 5 defense, but it's not happening. Bortles, if you look at his numbers this year, they're pretty much the same numbers as he had last season. That's all the same. The rest of the system, I think, is what's really failing. I mean, they're on pace to have half the sacks, half the takeaways they did. Operating under the idea that they could do this year what they did last year was a miss. And I think that somebody has to be blamed for that. I don't know who it is.
Hindsight is so 20/20, but last year they took a running back, Leonard Fournette, 4th overall, who's battled injuries and absolutely showed himself to be a knucklehead this past week.
A knucklehead move. He's not a knucklehead.
It was a knucklehead move. Yeah. He threw a punch, and that was ridiculous.
It was a knucklehead moment.
Knucklehead moment. Would you think that Jaguars fans had wished they took Deshaun Watson or Patrick Mahomes instead?
Sure. Yeah, of course. Last year.
Even though
they wish they took Odell or Khalil Mack.
Bortles got them to an AFC Championship game. No one was saying that this offseason, saying, wow, they should have drafted Mahomes.
But if Bortles is playing the same way that he's playing this year as last year, then they should also be on that same trajectory if the defense and everybody else is more disciplined and that defense is creating turnovers. Bortles is playing the same, and they decided to pay him. They knew what they were getting in keeping him and extending it.
See, I think they thought that Bortles in that AFC divisional round against the Steelers threw that team on his back, hit D.D. Westbrook, hit Keelan Cole. Like, there was a formula. We run the ball. Fournette's going to be healthy. Yeah. We've got Andrew Norwell as a guard. Like, I think that the pieces were there. Okay. I honestly think that this team just became undone from the inside out.
They unraveled.
And if I'm Coughlin and I'm watching from afar, do you get involved more? Do you pull back? Are you not involved enough? Like, the Coughlin thing is fascinating because his whole bread and butter is discipline, order, no penalties. And this team is one of the most penalized and most undisciplined in the league. It's an amazing thing that happened to the Jaguars this year because this is not the way it was supposed to go.
I think it's a very tenuous recipe in today's NFL to say, as long as we have the greatest defense and an incredible running game, we think our quarterback has a shot to win. You're going to go up against the Saints and the Chiefs and the Rams. It all comes apart. I think we've undersold how much the Fournette injury has unraveled them this year. He's the whole offense, and he was gone, and it fell apart in glorious fashion on Sunday.
This team beat the Patriots this year. It's crazy. Yeah. It's in a crazy downward spiral.
Crazy season.
We'd love to hear from Jags fans. We know you guys all watch the show, and we love you for it. Hashtag GMFB. Thoughts with you guys, of course, as you kind of go through this shakeup that might not even be over. We don't know what the future holds as far as changes are concerned.